Like my advice to anyone who's like out there dating someone, first of all, stop being confused, start being turned off. Number
like if
one.
you're not getting consistency from
No,
someone,
just
then
be
like
turned off. No,
Yeah.
no, don't cut them off. I'm really turned off by this behavior.
I think if you are confused about whether a guy likes you or not, he doesn't like you.
He doesn't like you is such a powerless position. I just disagree with that wholeheartedly. You're the one that said date like a guy. So like that is very female to me. He doesn't like me, so I'll disappear off the planet. What the fuck? Who cares what he thinks? I like you, and you're not texting me back. I'm really turned off by that. If someone said that to me, that's an adult conversation. We went on a great date the other night. I'd love to go out again, and I'm free next week. You make a plan and I'm in. Otherwise, I gotta back out of this. When you say you're turned off and then they keep turning you off and make no attempt to turn you on again, you get really turned off even more.
Okay, welcome back to this week's episode of Friends of Kayla. I'm here today with a comedian who you guys probably know very well, Jared Freid. Jared, great to see you and great to meet you.
Great to be here. Thank you for having me. Pleasure to finally meet. There we go. Yeah.
Yes, great to meet you.
Yeah.
And yeah, we all know you as a Jewish comedian, but you're very dating scene adjacent. You have a book that just came out about dating.
A dating advice book.
A dating advice book. Yeah. So what made you like go from comedy to the dating guru?
I'm not a dating guru. I just have an opinion that resembles the men that women tend to date. So I started talking about my life, and then I started doing a podcast where people ask me questions, and the questions just happen to be a lot about dating and relationships. I would have a lot of like women on the show to kind of have the back and forth and see, just discuss these things out. And I think for comedians, why they're probably the best to ask for dating advice is like, there's nothing that I would look at and be like, you did what? You what? There'd be no judgment. Like it's the scenario and then we take it as is. And the job of a comedian is the house is on fire. Let me tell you why I believe it's on fire and then make it funny. So dating was just a part of my life. So it was very easy for me to talk about because I have an opinion. I'm an expert in my own emotions. So I can tell you what I feel. And I'm also a pretty regular dude. So whatever I'm feeling, whatever you're feeling, the great is generally 10% away what everyone's feeling or within 10%. So that's kind of, and then we started the You What podcast with Betches, and that was me and Jordana Abraham just like basically kind of having like the male-female point of view and just being able to have what I would describe as uncomfortable conversations had comfortably, because a lot of dating stuff from the male side is icky. And it's stuff that you're most, that honestly, like what you find is it really can feel bad. It can feel bad to hear that a man won't go out with someone they're not attracted to. It can feel bad, but that's a lot of like societal stuff. Men go on dates that their penis allows them to go on. Women get told, give him a shot. He checks a lot of boxes. He comes from a good family. And then they go on dates that they're like, and that's why I talked about the ick in my last stand-up special, because it was just, to me, it made no sense. I was like, the ick, that's crazy. Like my friend, she wouldn't date a guy because he wore khakis. And I'm like, the khakis? That's crazy. I would never not fuck a girl because you wore khakis. So again, the languaging.
We all have our things,
We all have our things, but the languaging of what I'm saying, like generally it's true. A lot of, I'll have a lot of women listen to our podcast and the boyfriend's like, yeah, that's what I feel. But I think I have a power of saying it, just in a way that can be edible. So the book came out of that. And, the special, the last Netflix special was called 37 and Single because I was 37 and single. People think that because you do a special, I get a lot of feedback. Are you still doing the single thing? And it's like, no, I'm doing my life. My life is what I talk about, So like my next special that comes out tomorrow or whenever this comes out, it's called The Family Plan. It's a 1-hour story about going to the beach with my parents. And I would say it's an episode of Seinfeld. When people watched it, they were like, that's my family. That's my mom. She saves the beach chairs. I'm on the parents' cell phone plan. That was like the most gratifying feeling in the world. And especially Jews, Jews would come up to me and be like, that is exactly my family. So I'm really proud to put out a special that, just like Seinfeld, never mentions he's Jewish, but that's a Jewish show to us. My special is a Jewish special with really I mentioned being Jewish once in it, but it's any family, but on a different level. The people that are going to connect to it, you're going to connect to it in a way you're going to go, oh my God, that's my mom. Because my mom is your mom, is anyone's listening's mom or watching's mom.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I want to hear more about your family background because you're from Massachusetts as
Yeah.
well. Grew up in Needham. We
Yeah.
talked about this before. I heard your mom's side kept kosher. Your grandfather was synagogue president, but your dad's side was pretty
Yeah, they were pretty.
non-observant.
My dad's side of the family acted more Italian than Jewish, like as a family, like Sunday dinners type of thing. My grandparents had a pool. We'd all go to the house for, on Sundays, and and then my grandfather would let the lobsters out and let them crawl in the, as
The
about not
lobsters.
Jewish
Yeah.
as it gets. So, yeah, but my family in Boston, is part of the Jewish community there too. We went to a conservative temple, and, that was all, it's a cool thing to have that like thread with people, have that like community.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel like your audience has always been primarily a Jewish audience,
My
or
audience is everybody.
it's
I do a show that's for everybody. Your mom, your dad, your sister, your brother, your cousin, your friend from work, anyone. I want to be the biggest comedian alive. Like that's my goal. Like I'm a comedian who happens to be Jewish. I'm not a Jewish comedian.
right?
Like I
Right.
don't have to go to a temple to do my show. I can do my show in Doral tonight, where it's called Little Argentina, because a lot of Argentinians live there, and they're going to come to my show and have a good time too. But I think that's like, again, to go back to Seinfeld. Seinfeld is the biggest TV show of all time. To you and I, there's things in there that you go, oh my God, that like feels like home. I can't believe anyone else gets this. So that's what I do,
Yeah, yeah, you're making it relatable. And I feel like comedy is a great way to obviously bring light to things that are Jewish and maybe like
Sure.
even challenge Jewish stereotypes. And you've even said, I think like comedy is a Jewish sport.
Yeah.
Do you feel like when it comes to like a Jewish lens and how you view comedy, like how has that changed for you since like October 7th in the last few years
You know,
specifically?
it's
Like, do you feel more responsibility now than you did maybe prior to
well, I
2023?
feel more responsibility to keep who I am. You've seen October 7th make, I think, a lot of people go extreme. And my favorite thing about Jews, always growing up, whenever you hear about anti Semitism, there was always the story about like the rabbi inviting the person in, come to the temple, we'll teach you, we'll show you what we do, we'll, take away the fear, anytime someone would use, bad language or say something anti-Semitic, invite them in, give them a hug, teach. That to me is like, I would hate that if we ever lost that. Like, I think that is to me being a comedian. Like, listen, this thing's complicated. Bring it in. Let's talk it out. We might not come to answers, but at least we'll understand each other a little better. I thought that was the power of being Jewish, the discussion. The idea that, what do they call it? The Shabbos Goy. The Shabbos Goy is the ultimate Jewish discussion, right? Is that the name of it, or is that a horrific name? I don't know if you're allowed to say
What do
that.
you mean the Shabbos? Like the person at Shabbos that's not Jewish?
The person that hits the elevator button
Oh yeah,
during
yeah,
Shabbos.
and gets you up.
You
your
don't think
elevator,
that's the
right, right.
most gray area of being,
Totally,
but that's
totally.
literally, we found a way to live in society and have religion and feel good about it while also doing something that in another generation might not be considered right. It's this, there's a lot of, like, I think the beauty of being Jewish is the discussion, is the, again, the house is on fire. Why? That's why so many Jews go into comedy. There's nuance. There's funny there. There's, even in the most dark of times, there's like, look at it from this angle. Isn't that funny? I think that's a very Jewish thing, in my opinion. But I hope we don't lose that due to, there's incentive to just being angry and screaming. And there's incentive to being, to having no nuance. And that's for everyone, all of us. If the tweets that will work and get attention. Attention is different than a following. I don't want attention. Attention's a guy screaming on the street. Anyone's going to turn and look. I want people that go, oh, there's perspective here. I'm going to laugh here. Oh my God, it's a different way I never would have looked at it.
Yeah. I mean, I think people are just by nature in general are a lot more sensitive over the last few years and like protective of the Jews as people. I mean, even from things that I post, right? Like I posted a video recently just challenging like Jewish stereotypes. And someone was coming up to me, was like, oh, you're tall for a Jew. Oh, like you
Mm,
don't look Ashkenazi. Like, are you sure you're Ashkenazi? And I thought it was hilarious. And there's of course people being like, you're making fun of Ashkenazis, like you are dark for not like we are dark, you're from the Levant.
right,
Like, everyone just has something to say always. There's that saying, two Jews, three opinions, right? So how have you
right.
seen that like evolve in the
I
comedy
don't, I
space?
just, I think I just don't buy it. I hear what you're saying, but you made a video about Jewish stereotypes because you knew that would travel.
Fair.
So there
Well, it's
was
relatable,
incentive, but
right? No?
I have,
It's
people say if I'm gonna go, like, to me, this is my opinion is the people in your comments section that are saying such a thing, like, you're catering to the most emotionally affected people. I don't, when I've ever commented on something, it's because I was at my worst, at my most angry, at my most self-hating. So again, this is a hard world that we live in because the only way you get heard is if you're divisive and if you use, the hashtag that will work. I'm doing and this is my fear is that I will go extinct for having uh any type of like class and any type of like pillar that I stand by. Like I say it in the special. I say it it's called The Family Plan on Netflix, coming out on Tuesday the 1st, September 1st. I say it on the special and I mean it. I only talk about people I know. I only tell stories that are true and I talk about people I know because I can always defend that. When I make fun of someone, I know that person and I love that person. I don't make fun of someone because I hate them. I would pity someone. I would avoid someone I hated. I make fun of my friends, my family.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So
I'm in fear that I'll just go away screaming. Like my real fear is that there's no place for good comedy that is thoughtful and not divisive and not looking to make someone angry.
mm, mm. Well, so this weekend starts like your tour, or have you been on tour? Like,
A comedian tours. There's no tour.
oh, there's no tour.
I wish I could be so lucky. I hope this special, which everyone who listens to this show should watch my special. They will love
Tomorrow,
it. If they don't
September
like,
1st.
there is no not liking it. You're gonna watch it and you're gonna share it with your grandmother and your parents, and you're gonna be like, he's talking about you, because I'm making fun of my parents, which means I'm making fun of your parents. And I'm passionate about it because I really do think that because I would love to tour. Like I would love to go, here are my 10 dates and then go away and write a new special that means a lot to people like us. I can't do that right now. I gotta be on the road all the time. I gotta go and keep writing new acts and hoping that the next special will be as good as the last one.
Yeah. So I watched your last special,
Mhm.
37 and Single. It's interesting now we're talking, right? You've had this book come out. People keep asking you like how's single life, whatever. But you're not single anymore, I've
No, I'm
heard.
not.
So let's talk about that. Like what's it like having just like released this book about, the walking red flag, like dating advice to now, being in a relationship and not being that single persona anymore.
It's the same person. I have the same passion and opinions about everything I do. So I love my girlfriend. I'm very happy. It took a lot for me to get over the hump of, being in a committed relationship because, I wasn't ready. And I also, I think you have to be so excited about it that you're almost delusional about, all the problems that can come up. You have to overlook like all the reality. Being single you have to keep a really good mixture of optimism and cynicism. And I think for single people, there's a lot of cynicism out there. Again, the internet, you're only hearing from the most emotionally affected men on the internet. It's women having fun with dating talk. The internet is made of women having fun with it. Like, oh my God, I went on a date with a guy. He wore khakis. I don't want to fuck him. That's hilarious. That's so funny. Like that's a hilarious plight for a man that you got dressed in your very best and it was the thing that made it so you didn't fuck. That's a funny bit. the only men who respond to that on the internet are, oh, well, so, the angry men that are like, well, you're being frivolous and you're being this, you're being that.
You're being
You're
shallow.
being
Yeah,
shallow. And it's
yeah,
like, but those are men you would never date. Like
for
you would
sure.
never, if you found out a guy comments on women's fun dating stuff on the internet, you would think less of that man,
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so
Yeah, you're like, I don't want to date that man anyway, but thank
right.
you.
So like
Appreciate your
that, but
intake
that's the
there.
problem with dating is like right now in the dating world, if you go to the comments section, all you do is see negativity.
Negatives, yeah. And
And
there's a lot of like hate on men right now in general for women. Like that's all I see in my feed,
because that's easy,
Mhm.
because the internet lives in punch up, punch down. And it's been established who's at the top. Men have it easy in dating. Men don't have to take care of themselves. Like all these things that, that you go, and of course, all men have issues, but I'm saying these, as far as the hierarchy, and men don't have a biological clock that they're working against. Men don't care about dating. They want to have fun. It's not important to men dating. So it's easy to make fun of them because you're making fun of someone who doesn't care about it. So in general, it's the right move, but it also kind of creates bad comedy, it creates lazy comedy, and it also creates a world where there's no real feedback to women and like on the internet about dating. It's woo woo, or it's,
Woo, woo, woo. What do you mean by that? Like the spiritual
well, no,
dating
like
advice?
woo, go, you go.
Oh,
Anything
like
you
go.
say, I
I
ended.
thought you were talking about like the manifestation. And
No, I
things
mean we
like,
could talk about that too. I mean, but I'm saying like any woman who ends it with a guy, good. You shouldn't
good
just
for
settle.
you. Yeah, yeah.
You gotta. It's so hard to end it with someone you like, but they're not the right one. And then the guy ends it with a girl. It's like everything was
Like he
fine, but it
sucks.
did, and he sucks.
Yeah, he sucks as he ended up, but the woman, like all power to you. Yeah, that's
Right.
real.
So,
That is so real.
but that's kind of goes back to, if you look at dating as an example for what's going on the internet, it's happening with every subject. It's happening
Right.
with
Everything's divisive. It's not just the dating world.
well,
It's
everything is
right
divisive, and what's lazy, what's easy. What points are easy to make. Like I'm not trying to like shit on the video, like, but like.
Oh, you're bringing back my video.
I'm bringing back your video.
Okay.
What, like, what you're gonna get back. You're not
Totally.
stupid. You
No.
went to Loomis.
You're right. I
So
did
you
go
went
to
to a
Loomis.
private school.
Went
You
to
know
prep school.
that
Yeah.
what stereotypes are my.
But Jared, to be fair, I am literally not like I'm not a stereotypical Ashkenazi. Like people see me like
Sure,
she's
but
dark.
but,
I don't know any dark Ashkenazi Jews.
but
Respectfully, I don't personally.
But in good conversation and in conversation, like the internet is like going, what? And it's like a bunch of fucking assholes.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you knew what you were putting that
Of course,
into.
that was gonna go through the
But
echo
you knew
chamber
you
of
had
controversy and.
But even though,
opinions.
but I'm saying a video like that, you knew your defense of it already.
Totally.
You were ready to fight a war, like But
Yeah.
it's like, to me, that's sad.
Like
I
knowing
but I
that
understand
was-
you want to make a business, so. But this is the reality of the world, So
Yeah.
that makes
Well,
me
no,
nervous.
it is sad though. It is sad that like controversy sells. And that is the reality of today. And again, this is not my real like business. Like I have a corporate job. Like candidly, that video,
Listen,
like
you're doing a great job. You're doing
Thank
you're doing
you.
a real thing.
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to take away
I'm
from.
not selling it short, but like I wasn't trying to sell myself short there. But my point was that it ended up being an organic conversation with someone that's like a Jewish ally. And he was the one trying to make fun of Jews and mock it. And it ended up being something funny to post. And I knew what I was doing.
Right.
Bottom line.
I mean,
Absolutely.
You're right.
Yeah.
I've never seen the video, so I can't speak to it. But I would.
Yeah.
The thing I'm speaking to is like, even I hear like Jewish ally, making jokes. I don't. That's not fun for me. Like I don't even like even like the speak of it. Like we're all speaking a different way, so that we're already defending ourselves against someone who is gonna attack us online. Like.
You
I
mean
just call that a guy I know who's not Jewish.
Yeah. This specific person is actually someone that's like combating anti-Semitism online, like lives in Israel, isn't Jewish, is like very involved in that world. So that's the whole thing.
Again,
But
another
again,
guy who's going to invite a certain
lot
commenter.
of
Yeah.
yes, a lot of
So he
interesting
knows what he's
comments.
doing
He
too,
also
right.
has like a specific audience. So it was in general, a funny video, I thought, but
I'm sure it's good.
I digress. Well, I want to talk a little bit about Jewish dating
Sure.
specifically because first of all, is your girlfriend Jewish?
She's Jewish,
Oh,
yeah.
Baruch Hashem. We
Yeah.
love that, Jared. But prior to your current girlfriend, was dating Jewish a priority to you?
Yeah.
It was.
I can give it two different explanations. One, as far as like a math thing is concerned, like I just felt that dating Jewish was like right away, like zoning in on someone that I would have a lot in common with. If you want to speak to it from a very not rah rah, tears in my eyes way. As you go deeper with that, like, the things that you share in common with someone who's Jewish is like, is generally like, you know, again, like not to keep self promoting, but like empathy for family, like, and having family that you disagree with that gives you shit. And like my special's about, it's a 1 hour story about going to the beach with my parents where my dad asked me how much I weighed while we were at the beach. Like that's my dad who I love, who
Body shaming.
is
How dare he?
right. You want to call it body shaming. I call it, that's a parent and his child,
No, but
and
it's like a Jew. It's like as Jews though, it's like going back to that. Like we're like very open and like it doesn't
right.
matter. It's like what it's like classic. My dad just asked me what I weigh at the beach. Like okay,
Right.
but you
But
could have been
Jews
offended
would
by
get that
that.
on a level where they go, so like when I date, it's like I didn't want to date someone where I'd be like, yeah, my dad, I'm so fucking mad at my dad. He asked me how much I weighed at the beach. I need someone who can understand that, feel it. That is a soul thing, and I think that's what I share with Jews, like I share a certain type of and I think probably the audience listening right now or watching, like you share a sensibility. And, cutting, though, there was this whole thing like cutting off your family. Like, you don't meet a lot of Jews who just don't talk to mom. Like even though they have their problems with mom, you still go to the high holidays. You have, and again, this discussion, this give and take, this feeling that you're in it together, like I think that's something that I wanted to feel from a partner. So like dating Jewish was important to me.
Mhm. I feel like for a lot of young men, like I have a younger brother who's 26. Even myself, actually, I never dated Jewish guys, which
Mm.
is very interesting. And then like
Tough to find in Longmeadow,
well,
Massachusetts.
that is also true, but I did live in New York City.
Okay.
But yeah, it's definitely hard to find in Western Massachusetts specifically. But yeah, growing up, like my Judaism was never like a priority to me,
Mhm.
candidly. Like it was always something I was involved in, but I was like embarrassed of. And that's kind of brought me to where I am today of like being like the polar opposite person and like being so proud of who I am because of different experiences that I've had specifically in the last few years. But definitely dating Jewish is a priority. But I think about it a lot. I'm like, it is, you're looking for like a small percentage, regardless of what religion or ethnicity you are. And then you're digging into the Jewish population, put in the fact that I'm 5'10, looking for a man that's taller within the Jewish population, really going for a very minute group of people out there. So it's definitely feels like I'm looking for a needle in a haystack sometimes.
I think you'll find someone. I think you'll be okay.
Thanks, Jared.
That's like one of those things like, you know, the beautiful part about the Jewish community is that people are really on the lookout for you. Like people really want to set up and to be involved and to talk about their friends who are single. Like when you're talking about like I'm 5'10" looking for a guy, which is like great. Like, and I'm Jewish. Like the alarms have been sounded. They're getting sounded like that.
Okay.
Like that people are on the lookout for you. Like they want to be responsible for like a great match. And and if you're looking for Jews, every aunt at every community in Boca is going to be like knocking at your door. So I think that's like a great thing. Like not a lot of I don't think a lot of people have that.
Yeah, totally. No, they definitely don't. And that is what's so special about the community. But I will say this concept of like dating shiksas for practice, that's something I hate. Like I think that is awful.
I mean, that's like I can't even. Who's saying that as like a real thing? Like
That's a real thing.
like-
My Jewish guy friends talk about it. They're like, shiksas, they're for practice. And like I have girlfriends that aren't Jewish that have dated Jewish guys and have had horrible experiences because
Right.
they're just like, oh, we know they're not gonna take me seriously, and they're ultimately they don't want to marry me, and then that's what
I
happens.
think saying that is like a young guy making a joke that he wouldn't be proud of later. Like, I don't think that's like really their vibe. I think what happens is if you're Jewish and you're dating someone and you come to the realization, I think it can happen. You know, I think, and especially for men, like I'm giving empathy to for a very, for a group that many wouldn't find empathy for. If a guy said to me, I'm dating shiksas for practice, I'd be like, I'd eye roll because I'd be like, that is just something you're saying because you're insecure, because you need because guys are asked for a reason why did it end, and they're going to make a joke about it, and the joke isn't funny. And then I would also say that men, when they go into dating, they're going, you know, generally men and women all want the same thing. They all want to be in a really loving relationship, but how they get there is very different. Men want to have fun all the way to the end. Fun, light. You know, women are,
Mm.
it's business from day
Or more
one.
serious,
Right, more
yeah,
serious. So like when
yeah.
these men are going into relationships and they're dating someone that they're like, she's hot and she's fun and she's cool. And then it gets to the family part and they go, well, I'd like to raise my kids Jewish. And the woman that they're with is like, well, that's not my background, which they're totally right to, you know, they have the right to do, of course. Now you're coming down to like the real relationship. You're past fun and games. So I think a lot of those men who end up, you know, and I'm trying, this is the position I get put into on the date with dating subjects is like, I'm defending someone who, you know, if there's a woman who's not Jewish who's like, yeah, I was in this relationship that I wasn't taken seriously. It's like, I think it's more, I think to me, like my disagreement with that perspective would be you were taking it as seriously as any man takes anything seriously, you know, in dating. Then this really tangible thing. I said it in my 37 and single. Women want reasons it ended. Give me the reason. And I need it to be good. And I need to make you, you know, I need to find a way to make you either evil or for my friends and family to go, oh,
We
that's
get
why it
it.
ended. He's not, you know, it wasn't me. And I get that. There's again, the word societal comes up. But you look at that scenario, you go, that's a pretty good eject button, you
Yeah,
know,
but
for
I
someone that like, I just don't believe anyone goes into a relation. I think that would be a pretty mean and awful person to go into a relationship going, well, not Jewish. Now I got a good excuse. I don't think that's how it starts. And that's me being
well,
empathetic.
probably not for a real relationship, but just for like a casual fling was more my point. Like that's where I've experienced with guy friends that are
Well, if
like,
it's a
oh,
casual
it's
fling, but I'm saying like the response of women saying, you know, that they were never taken seriously. Like, you know,
yeah.
I'm just saying like casual fling is how most men go into seeing someone. There's no hoe phase for men, you know. So like,
That is
I,
so crazy to me. Wow. So like let's say so before you met your current girlfriend, you
yeah,
were never like I'm intentionally dating right now. Like it was always kind of like, oh, we'll see.
no,
It's casual.
I think the hope, and this is a very very male thing, is like. Look at every movie, like coming of age movie. This woman walks in, her hair blows in the wind. The guy's like, "That's the one." I think men have that kind of romanticism to them, where they go, "It's gonna hit me like a sack of bricks," and then along the way, I'm gonna have fun and date and see what happens, and hopefully that moment happens to me. And it's in every movie. Like I can't be alone if I've watched that trope in every movie where it's like, you know, the coming of age movie where it's like, there she is, she gets it, she knows comic books and she's hot, you know, like that's every
Yeah, that
movie.
is
So
it.
it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
so I think that's the feeling for a lot of men where it's like, so like the idea of like, I think what I hear back from women, especially having done the book and doing the podcast, you box yourself, you brand yourself. A lot. I'm in my hookup phase. I'm not looking for anything. You won't hear a guy say that. Guys won't even
You
say
guys would never say that.
never say that. They would never block them. They would never. No guy would ruin his own blowjob. It's just the reality. Like it's like you're not gonna get in the way with it with words.
Yeah. Or you're not going to say, oh, I'm only intentionally dating. Oh, I'm only looking for marriage. You would
No,
never hear a guy say that.
ever.
Whereas women always say that.
And women do it on,
Guilty as charged.
and they do it on all dating fronts, no matter how old or young they are. You know, think about in college when the women are seniors. We're the grandmas.
We're the grandmas,
We're the
yeah.
grandmas. No guy ever said that. Guys are 27 forever. You know, they just it's just not a
That's the
male
thing,
thing.
going back to your clip on Instagram where you spoke about, girls will always go out with guys that are deemed, "Oh, he's a nice guy, just go out with him," whereas a guy would never go out with a woman he's not attracted to. It goes to that same notion of like, why shouldn't women date the way that men are dating then? You know?
Should or shouldn't I? You
Or
know
why
what?
can't why don't we? As in like, why
But
don't we just go
there's a
out with
lot
guys we're
going. I
attracted
mean,
to?
why don't you? Is like, why don't I stop eating at night? Like why don't I lose 15 pounds? Like, it's just not just how you're built. Like and again, those things can change. You can acknowledge I'm doing something right now. When I'm eating at night and the fridge is open and it's the only light in the house, I can go, Jared, you're doing it again. Come on, cut the shit. But I always get to that fridge. So it's like, I don't know if I've never been in the position. I don't believe we're in the position to change someone's life in that way or change society. As sad as that might feel to people, I don't really aspire to that. My job as a commentator on these things, as a comedian, is it's raining out. Here's an umbrella. I can give you some thoughts from the other side. And when people read the book, which is out right now, the feedback has been unbelievable. Like, the feedback to the book from women has been like, wow, it made it less personal. It made it funny. It made it like, it's good to know what's getting thought. It's not, when I ended, I'm with my girlfriend now. We had dated years ago and then I ended it. And then it wasn't, let me go find better. That's not how my mind went. What a horrific thing to think of me. That's not how I've ever operated. It wasn't my time. I wasn't ready for the responsibility of a relationship. I want to be good in a relationship. I want to be a good husband, fiance, father, all those things. I think most people want to be good at what they do. To say that I was, looking for the next best thing, like I think that's a really demeaning way to look at anyone. So, the dating. So when I say bring an umbrella, it's like, I'm here to let you know, here's some things I've thought, and maybe this will calm it down for you, take the air out of it for you.
Yeah, so what has been some of the feedback from women that have read your book? Like, so essentially your book is like a lens into the male mind
Yeah,
of like what goes on in a guy's head when it comes to dating. So
yeah,
like, yeah, I want to talk about some of like the topics, themes of the
sure.
book, hot takes you may have, and like what the female response has been. Because we hear dating advice from women only online.
Right.
And there's not a lot of men talking about dating. So I think it's amazing that you've made like wrote I can't speak. It's amazing that you've wrote.
Writ.
It's amazing you wrote this book
Yeah.
and are giving insight into the male brain because guys are afraid to talk about it.
Yeah, because they can sound stupid. They're not going to sound really good. You're going to sound bad.
Hmm.
And especially in the age of the internet, like,
It's
especially
funny
with the
that
way the
guys,
internet's going right now, like,
yeah.
the only guys that talk about dating on the internet are trying to be divisive. They're trying to be horrible. Like, it's like, and I just, again, I'm not desperate. I was happy to do the book. I hope it gets read for it could be read 20 years from now. If, technology abiding, but it's like, I believe in everything I said. It's real stories, personal stories to help show my point. So if you want to hear stories and you want to laugh every page, it was meant to make people laugh. The feedback has just been like, Goodreads. You ever hear of Goodreads?
Yeah, yeah, of course.
I didn't know what Goodreads was. Like, I wrote a book. I had no idea. They were like, this is like, don't go on Goodreads. They were like, don't go. You'll hate yourself. And I was like, why? They're like, it's like it's a huge community and people review,
And shit all over you.
they
Yeah.
review it like that. They'll like undress you.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my God. And then they were like, the publisher was like, your Goodreads are like unbelievable. She was like, for a man, because Goodreads is mostly women too.
Yeah.
And he's like, and they were like, for a straight man to go and write a book about dating and then have their Goodreads be, I think it's like 4 something on Goodreads, is like, they were like, that's unbelievable. Like, and and they send the book out to people who have no idea who I am, early advanced copies. And I didn't care what the feedback was because I didn't write it to get feedback. I wrote it to get to tell the truth about dating and what I felt about dating, and which is I do believe is the answer. So it's been cool to see that, like, because when I started the podcast with Betches, I was like, everyone's gonna hate me. This is a female crowd. They're gonna be like, what the fuck is he talking about? And all the feedback was so nice. It was like, oh my God, I'm just happy that I'm like hearing from a guy friend, because again, this is the other thing that happens. You graduate high school, you have those guys that you used to talk to in high school, they're kind of gone, is what I've realized. Like that dude you hung out with in college that you were friends with, then you go into the outside world and it's dinner with female friends, and maybe you come across a couple
Yeah, like
guys.
you don't really have guy friends. Yeah,
Right.
in your like adult life. Yeah, a
Right.
lot of women don't, unless you're still really good friends with your college friend group, maybe. But
They kind
yeah,
of disappear
they do
because then the
disappear.
guy friends get
They
girlfriends.
get
They get
married
married. The
and
girls get married, and
yeah,
now you're in two different groups, and you're not as close to the guys that you picked up.
yeah,
So
totally
it
true.
was kind of like nice, and especially if you stay single. I was 40 and single. The friends are gone. And I call it in the book. I have different types of single. The powerful part of the book is in the beginning. It's what type of single, what type of alone, what type of horny are you? Is fair single, alone, horny, and afraid. So it gives types of afraid, types of single, types of horny, and types of alone. And what the book did for me when I wrote those out, it was like putting words to feelings. And, there's some people, like I had one that was called Samantha Single, where it's like, you're Samantha from Sex and the
Sex and the
City.
City.
You like want to go out and fuck and you want to have a good time. Then there was like Ready Single for the best. Like you just ended something and it was a good relationship, but it just didn't work out. And you're not like hating that person. And now you're out there. And then it was like, there was single and very single. And that was because I talked to a woman in Dallas. I was like, well, are you here with anyone? They're like, I'm very single. And I never thought of it as like what a way to describe it. And I was trying to think of what's very single for me. It would be like, I can't think of anyone, not one prospect, not one date I would go on. And people really took a lot away from being able, again, it's a mirror look. You know, if you want to go out, if your whole thing in dating is to blame everyone else, I just saw some person, they have a dating book coming out, and they were like, yeah, it was so horrible. I couldn't believe it. It was like, date a guy because you got to have a passport and he better be able to. It was basically like date a rich. It
Date a
basically
rich
was like
man.
date a rich guy, and I
Well,
was like, hey, like it's just like that's not the advice. That's not
yeah.
helpful.
Well, that's what a lot of the guys when I posted recently, I interviewed a dating coach and I posted the episode, and one of the guys was like, women are just looking for ATMs.
Yeah,
Which
I think
maybe
that's
is
like
true,
a
but
sad guy. Like I
he
just
had a
don't.
very negative outlook on it. And I was like,
Right,
wow. I was like, I've never heard guys say that before. I thought it was an acronym. I was like, what's an ATM?
right. It
And
is.
he's like, no, well, it is. And he's like, an ATM. I'm like, oh, like, got
I
it.
think women are dating for safety. It's like
Totally.
that bear versus the man thing.
Yeah,
Remember
yeah,
that
yeah,
whole
yeah.
bear versus the man thing? To me, when there was like, it was like, would you rather be chased by a bear or a man? It was something like that. And I just remember like, it was like, to me, that was like that was like a way to smoke out idiots. Like any man who heard that and was like engaged by that was an idiot.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it was like, you don't get the premise here, the premise that like men are dangerous to women. And like that guy who's like, women are just dating ATMs, like he just doesn't get it. Like, I think women looking for safety, looking for, looking for like to feel, good in their relationship. A lot of that has to do with,
I mean, of course, that is tied to money
well, it
in
could
a
be
way,
money's a
you
part of
know?
that. Women date on potential, men date on the here and now. So the here and now, which is kind of romantic. If you like, again, I say this all the time. If you're on a date with a guy, he's into you. He left the house.
Right. With a woman, she's probably not into you.
We don't
Maybe she's on
know.
the
We
date with a
don't
nice
know.
guy that her
Right.
friend told her to go on and she pushed herself to go.
Right.
Been there before.
And then we'll see. That's why a lot of
Totally.
guys, well, that's why
You're
we're
right.
in
It's the potential. Yeah.
it's potential.
Yeah.
So that can be put in so many different ways. We're in Miami right now. Miami is the only place in the country where I've ever heard of men will rent a car to take a picture in front of it to then put on their dating profile, which is like, I've never heard that anywhere else, but it's a Miami thing. So men have caught wind of dating on potential. They've caught wind of, well, have the car. They date on potential. Then when I'm in the door, I can say, no. I get it once a week because I mean, that's a guy with more confidence than I've ever had. But like to
Who's
rent a
renting the fake
car,
Ferrari.
right? Like
Yeah.
once a week, I want to know what it's like to drive a Ferrari because one day I'm gonna have that Ferrari. You could paint that picture in a way that a woman would go, "Okay, he's got a lot
He's
of
got his shit
passion."
together. Okay.
Right?
He's got the
This guy
money. He's
really
got the
wants to.
ambition.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he wants to be something, you know. And you go,
See, I would see right through personally, but you know,
sure, but I'm
Miami, this
saying,
is very Miami. Like people here, you see the flashiness and you're like, okay, you actually have nothing behind that. But it's the people that are a little bit more humble that actually have it all. So potentially.
listen. It's just it's funny. Like everything's a cause and effect. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
like
Well, it was interesting when I interviewed this dating coach. We talked about the whole thing about women go out with a nice guy. A guy would never go out with someone he's not attracted to, and she basically said that this is a good thing because women want a guy that is emotionally intelligent and like we're looking for that emotional connection, whereas guys statistically are not as emotionally intelligent. And it's something they need to learn. So a lot of guys in the comments were very upset about that comment. And we're like,
right.
wow, like that's not true at all. Men do have emotional intelligence and emotional volatility is something that women have. And like, who's to say that women are more emotionally intelligent when they're just like bashing men out here? So
I just think you're getting the most angry men. I would say that
yeah, I was
they're
curious what you
kind of
think about that.
but they're
Yeah.
also taking it wrong.
But do you think that that is something that is learned behavior for men, where it's
I
more
think
innate to women?
I think my answer is never like the one you could post on social media. Like I think it's like it's way in the middle. I think a
Yeah.
lot of like if I was to give feedback to women, they assume that men have zero emotional intelligence or they're a master manipulator.
Yeah. There's
And
like no in
there's
between.
no in between.
That's
They
true.
go,
Yeah.
well, oh my God, he did this all to get in my pants. And then they're like, well, he hasn't texted me back. He must not, he doesn't know to text me back. He doesn't know to make a date. How could both be true? You're either emotionally intelligent or you're not. You're either
Yeah.
emotionally intelligent enough to trick a woman into getting in her pants, or you have no emotional intelligence and you don't know how to make a date. So it's like the
Yeah.
truth is in the
Yeah.
middle. Like I think men get a lot of credit. I think what that dating coach is saying has some truth to it. Again, not a very clippable thing I'm saying, but I think a lot of women run into trouble assuming that men have no emotional intelligence whatsoever. I think that's something that's going to lead you astray because then it's going to make you make excuses for a guy who's being lazy and not making a plan and not looking for more.
True. True. I think that's the biggest learning lesson, though. I think for women out there, it's like from the female dating coaches or like dating influencers, experts, quote unquote, out there that like women are hearing on Instagram. It's like, don't settle for the guy that's like not making a plan and not at least doing the bare minimum, you know?
Yeah, you just can't speak in such terms. I just think like my advice to anyone who's like out there dating someone that like is really like making first of all, stop being confused, start being turned off. That's all that's
Yeah,
number
like if you're
one.
not getting consistency from
No,
someone,
just
then
be
like,
turned off. No,
yeah,
no, no, don't cut them off.
okay.
I'm really turned off by this behavior. That's like a principle
Well,
just
yeah,
now.
if you're confused, it's a no.
Well, just it's not a no. I don't speak. That's not. I don't think that's right. Don't
Really?
because no one follows that. That's just you getting to sound good. That's getting you getting to sound smart. Like my point,
I think if you are confused about whether a guy likes you or not, he doesn't like you.
but
Genuinely.
he doesn't like you is such a powerless position. I just disagree with that wholeheartedly. You're the one that said date like a guy. So like that is very female to me. He doesn't like me, so I'll disappear off the planet. What the fuck? Who cares what he thinks? Dating is a lone sport, not a we. You don't need him to like you. You like it. I like you, and you're not texting me back. I'm really turned off by that. If someone said that to me, that's an adult conversation. If you say, well, you're not texting me, I'll shut my ears off, you hate me. That's a child.
No, I don't mean it like that. I just mean like, okay, like if you're confused, like don't like that's not the behavior that you want from someone that you want to date.
But what you're doing is pushing a string. Like that's not the way the world works. That's not how human works. Like, just, just don't eat at night. Like that's not how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like what's
Yeah.
the action? So to me, it's like, hey, it's feeling turned off that means there's retribution. You can turn me on again. It's a light switch. I can go both ways. Hey, I'm really turned off that you haven't texted me back. We went on a great date the other night. I'd love to go out again and I'm free next week. You make a plan and I'm in. Otherwise, I got to back out of this. You know, that's an adult with their own thoughts, feelings, emotions, and their own time that they don't want wasted. So like, I just think like the route of influencers, the route of Instagram and coaches and all these people with no degrees, because they gotta sound smart. I'm stupid. So like, I'm okay with that. I don't need to be a dating coach 10 years from now. I need people to watch The Family Plan on Netflix right now and tell a friend, a coworker, a brother, a sister. And if you're Jewish, you should be sending to every Jew you know. That's what I need. But I go and produce. You know, I'm telling you to watch a special that I can promise will make you laugh. So these people have nothing. The dating coaches have nothing. Like the dating influencers, they have nothing. They have nothing. There's no show anyone wants to go to. There's no way to make money other than to say things that make them sound great and smart. When I say to someone, like when someone's like, they don't text me back, okay, here's a plan. Hey, I'm really turned off. You didn't text me back. I had a great time. Vulnerability. I had a great time with you.
Yeah, people are afraid to be vulnerable.
Well, I had a great time with you is a little tiny bit of vulnerability. If they can give that back to you, people tend to realize when you say you're turned off and then they keep turning you off and make no attempt to turn you on again, you get really turned off even more. You know, so, and this is diet and exercise. Like I'm not a smart person. Like I went to public school. I didn't go to Loomis. I didn't go to, I went to Penn State. I went to public school. I didn't go to Lafayette. I'm very stupid. But this, I know my own feelings, you know, and I know if someone said to me, hey, I'm really turned off and I really wanted to, and I was afraid of losing that person, I'd make a plan.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think sometimes you're right. Maybe men need to be guided towards like, or navigated properly to knowing like a woman's interested and knowing, okay, I have that green light to make the next
I
plan
don't need,
sometimes.
I don't even like that.
Okay.
I don't think they need anything. I'm saying the person in that position needs an answer.
Something. Yeah, needs an answer.
Right.
Yeah.
And needs to get themselves away from that. Like a lot of people need to like feel it, you know, like you got to like, it's not that they need, you know, I'm not asking someone to like walk a horse to water. I'm saying to this person hypothetical person that we're talking about,
this is what I need. Can you give that to me? Yes or no?
Own your emotions.
Yeah. Own your emotions. I like that. Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. So, okay. Okay, Jared.
Am I being annoying? I'm sorry.
Where did I go from here? So for the female listeners specifically,
okay,
I want you to give like your biggest piece of advice to women.
I just did.
Well, that was a good one.
Stop saying you're confused.
Okay.
You went to college, you did well, you have a job.
You're not confused.
You're not confused. You're turned off. Just say you're turned off.
Okay.
Anytime you think, oh, I'm confused, why didn't they text back? I'm turned off. Why haven't they text back? And then say that to the person you're turned off by.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just say it. What do you have to lose at that point?
Nothing.
Someone you're turned off
people
by?
are afraid to be very upfront with their emotions.
Sure. I mean, like,
you know?
it's, again, people are afraid to have nobody, but that's not going to be the case. Like, you know, someone that's living in Miami, having a great time, has a group of friends, it's going to work out.
You're going to be okay.
Yeah, I think it's all going to be okay. I just think like, dating to me, it's diet and exercise. Like it's such there's not a lot of advice to give. Like and stop listening to the fucking influencers.
Wait, okay. My actual last question though, because everyone says this, right? Like it's going to come when you least expect it, right?
I don't really.
No, I don't believe that either.
Yeah.
But what I do believe is like the energy you put out there is like the energy you receive. Can we agree on that one take?
Of course.
Okay, that's great. I just need to end it on something we agreed on, Jared.
Well, I'm not trying to disagree with you. I just, a lot of these isms are isms because they make people money.
Of course.
You know, and how do you make money? By being on a hashtag.
Yeah.
You know, like, so if we have to acknowledge that, like I can't live in a world where we're not talking about that. You know, so I will say this, when my girlfriend and I now got back together, the first time I saw her, she was so happy and bright, and it's the thing I'll never forget. And I think that really, if you're not happy in your life and you're not happy with how things are going for you, it's just, I think people can smell that. And I've had that from me. I'm sure people have been on dates with me where they're like, oh, he was a miserable fuck. And that's okay. Like dating is emotional bumper cars, so like, yeah, you're going to have to bump off a few people along the way that are going to go, oh, well, really? That guy has a dating book? Like, that's okay. But I would say that you gotta, if you're not happy, my big advice is like, don't go on dates you're not excited about.
That's
And
a
it,
big
and
one.
it's
Yeah.
okay. Then you'd be like, well, I haven't been on a date in 6 months. I don't know. That's okay.
Whatever.
Go
It
out
is
with your
what it
friends.
is. Yeah.
The big thing this summer has been, and I think what you're talking about with like the Jewish community specifically, your friends' husbands don't have a guy to fix you up with. They
This is
do,
true.
but they do have a guy to fix you up with.
Hmm.
Your friends' husbands
No
are your
one, no one,
best.
no one does. No one does.
No, because what your friends' husbands will do is they'll go, oh, she's cool. That's the best you're going to get out of your friend's husband. They're either going to go, oh, my friend's friend is annoying, or she's cool. She's chill.
You want to be the cool friend that your friend's husband.
Well, so go hang out with your friend and their husband. Go be your fun self.
Yeah.
And if you go hang out with your friend and their husband, now you've kind of grown your circle by like 200 people. Everyone knows 200 people. All the people that listen to this that work in life insurance, that's what they tell you that they walk in the door. Everyone knows 200 people. So
Yeah,
like that, your friend's husband is the key to all your problems. Go have fun with your friend.
Go hang out
and
with
their
your married
husband.
friends.
Yeah.
Also, I think hanging out with your married friends when you are single, I think it's easy when you're single to just hang out with single people, but it's nice to surround yourself with good, healthy relationships that you can admire and like just, we're manifesting that for ourselves. If that's what you want.
I think when you
I
hang
think
out
it's
with your
nice.
friends who are not single, when you're married friends, there's no owing. I think with especially female friendship, there's a lot of owing.
What do you mean by that?
There's a lot of like, oh, I got to go for dinner with her. I got to keep up with her. She came to this for me. There's a lot of like, I was in her bachelorette party. This is, I got to go to her this or that. I don't have that with any friends but I think there's good and bad to it. Like, I think there's good to it because women have deeper friendships and deeper relationships than men do. But I would say the married friends you have, if you go spend time with your married friend and their husband, those are like vegetables of relationships. Like they satiate, and that's who you really are. You're not acting for them. You're just being yourself. That's you and your friend from college and their husband that I would assume you like because they like them.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you'd get
Hopefully.
along with them. So
Right.
hopefully.
Right.
So
Right. Well, awesome, Jared. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being here. Can't wait to see the Netflix special tomorrow.
Thank you. Yes, go watch it. The Family Plan.
Family
Watch it.
Plan.
Send it to your parents.